Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Russ Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. We just saw a classic game between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. It was the final game of the NFL regular season. The playoffs are right around the corner, and we are going to be previewing the wild card later on this week and predict who I think will win each one of those matchups. But first things first, let's react to Buffalo, Miami, and some of these other games, and I'll do a quick preview of the wild card as well. But Buffalo and Miami, there were massive stakes in this game for the AFC East title. Whoever was going to win this game, they were going to get the second seed, and it looked like the Miami Dolphins were going to achieve that. Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins started out really well in the first half. They were up 14-7, and Buffalo kept making mistakes. Josh Allen had two costly interceptions that prevented the Buffalo Bills from being able to have the lead in the first half, because Buffalo, by all actuality, should have been winning in the first half, but they just kept making mistakes. But the Buffalo Bills, they hung tough, and despite falling short, being at the 1-yard line and not being able to tie the game up at the half, they came back out in the second half and endured another turnover by Josh Allen. 3 turnovers by him on the day. The last one was a fumble. Finally, Buffalo got a punt return for a touchdown, and the Bills, they never allowed the Miami Dolphins to score again. Tua Tagovailoa was stuffed. He was not able to get anything going in the passing game. Yes, Miami had Raheem Mostert out, and they had Jalen Waddle out. So Miami, they potentially will be able to be an improved team in the wild card if they get those guys back. But the Miami Dolphins have really struggled in games this year against teams with a winning record. Teams like Buffalo and Baltimore, some of the better teams in the NFL, Miami has played awful football against. And I'm not saying they played awful tonight, but there have been some games where they have really struggled against good competition. And the Dolphins, they're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl if they can't beat some of the best teams in the NFL, because newsflash, the NFL playoffs consist of the best teams. So Miami, they've got a lot of talent, but they need to get healthy. But they've struggled all season long against good teams. They've beaten up on the bad teams in the NFL, which has helped them achieve an 11-6 record. But the Miami Dolphins, now they're going to be a 6th seed in the NFL playoffs. So their seeding has been drastically hampered because they lost this game. Buffalo is now going to get the 2 seed. The Bills, they went from a team that a lot of people thought might not even make the playoffs a few weeks ago. They still hadn't even clinched a playoff spot before this game against Miami, but they did clinch a playoff spot earlier today because the Jacksonville Jaguars lost, and Buffalo was able to go out there and knock off Miami on the road. Bills Mafia showed out. Their fans were loud and proud, and Buffalo's going to be a 2 seed. So what a turnaround for the Bills. This was a fantastic game. Like Chris Collinsworth said, this already felt like a playoff matchup. Both these teams were playing for the playoffs and seeding, and it felt like it. And we're going to have some great NFL games to watch next week in the wild card. It's going to be awesome. But some other games that happened really quick. The Dallas Cowboys blew out the Washington Commanders. That was not a shock at all whatsoever. Dallas was playing for seeding, and they got it done, being able to win their division. The Rams did beat San Francisco. That was not a really consequential game. Both of the teams did not have their starting quarterbacks, and the Rams were able to win that one, so it did not really affect anything. Same thing with the Chiefs knocking off the Chargers. Kansas City was able to win because the Chargers are playing so poorly, but the Chiefs didn't even have their starters and didn't really impact seeding. Seattle, they were able to knock off the Arizona Cardinals. That was a big win for the Seattle Seahawks, but unfortunately, it did not matter for the NFL playoffs because they were eliminated despite the fact that they were able to win against the Cardinals. The Giants knocked off Philly. Something's going on with Philly because they actually needed to win this game to be able to possibly be able to clinch their division, and they go out there and get blitzed by the Giants. Tyrod Taylor balled out. The Philadelphia Eagles have lost 5 of their last 6 games. They started out undefeated, and they were like the last team to lose that was undefeated, basically, and now they can't even win a game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them in the playoffs. Then you had the Raiders knocking off the Broncos, which officially eliminated them. Then you also had the Green Bay Packers beating the Chicago Bears. That was a big win for Green Bay, helped them clinch a playoff spot. Tampa Bay beat Carolina. They also clinched a playoff spot with that win. Carolina could not get anything going. Tons of turnovers. Bryce Young's rookie season ended poorly. Then you had the New Orleans Saints knocking off the Atlanta Falcons. Great win there. Unfortunately, unfortunately for the Saints, even though they blitzed Atlanta, style points don't matter. They're not able to make the NFL playoffs. But then the Jets beat the New England Patriots, possibly in Bill Belichick's last game for the Patriots. It looked like it was going to be his last game, and now there's rumors he could return. Still looks like he's going to be on the way out in Foxborough, but tough way for him to go out, losing the Jets if that's the case. Then the Tennessee Titans spoiled the Jacksonville Jaguars party. Trevor Lawrence played, and it did not matter. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they officially got eliminated from the NFL playoffs with this loss. What a tough way to go out for Jacksonville. Then Detroit knocked off Minnesota. Big win for Detroit, being able to eliminate the Vikings. Plus, Goff played, and the Detroit Lions were playing for seeding. Didn't really get to move up from that number 3 slot, but still a good win for the Lions. Then you had the Cincinnati Bengals beating up on their rivals in the Cleveland Browns. Yes, the Browns had already clinched the playoff spot, so Joe Flacco didn't play, and Cincinnati was already eliminated, but pride played a factor, and they got a big win there. Cincinnati ended their season at 9-8. Then Houston knocked off Indianapolis. This was a fantastic game. I thought that C.J. Stroud was going to be able to pull this one out and knock off the Colts, and it was close. The Houston Texans, when they missed that extra point, Indianapolis could have gone down the field and won the game, but it did not happen. Gardner Minshew threw a pass to Tyler Goodson. That wasn't poor. It was a bit behind him. It still should have been caught, but the moment was too big. The Colts lost that game. That was tough for them. Shane Steichen did a great job at head coach, but Houston was able to win. And then Pittsburgh knocked off the Baltimore Ravens on the road. The Ravens sat Lamar Jackson, so they were not concerned about this game. And Pittsburgh, with their win, was able to clinch an NFL wildcard slot. So that's a big win for them. But it was a great final week of NFL action, capped off by that Bills-Dolphins game. That was a fantastic game, and it should be a great sign of things to come for the NFL wildcard, because you look at the matchups to preview them real quick. And to start off the wildcard preview, you've got the Cleveland Browns traveling to the Houston Texans. Cleveland, they have not made the NFL playoffs in a few years. Kind of nice to see teams like Cleveland and Detroit in the playoffs that haven't been in a while. They're going to the Houston Texans, and C.J. Stroud, the rookie, what a performance he's done, but also Joe Flacco for the Cleveland Browns. He's been impressive as well. So this is going to be a fantastic matchup in the 4-5 game. I don't really know if either team really has an advantage. Houston is at home, and they're going to have their fans, and that's going to be an advantage, but Cleveland's been playing well on offense. Joe Flacco's turnover prone, but he can throw for a lot of yards, but so can C.J. Stroud. That's a really good matchup to kick off Wild Card Weekend on NBC on Saturday. Then on Saturday night, you got the Miami Dolphins and the Kansas City Chiefs on Peacock. So some people will have to pony up a few extra dollars to be able to watch this game on Peacock, but this game, you got Kansas City. They have had a scrutinized season. A lot of people have talked about how poorly they've played, but they still ended their season 11-6. Arrowhead's one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, and Miami, fresh off this loss to the Buffalo Bills, it's going to be tough for them to be able to rebound and go on the road and try to knock off Kansas City in that tough environment. Miami has struggled against all of the best teams that they played on their schedule, so you would think Kansas City has an advantage, but with the way the Chiefs have struggled, especially the wide receiver position, Miami has that advantage there with their wide receiver, especially if Jalen Waddle is able to return. That's going to really help out the Miami Dolphins, but that should be a good matchup as well. You've got Pittsburgh traveling to Buffalo. Now that Buffalo has the 2 seed, they're at home on their own field. That's going to be a very tough game for Pittsburgh. It does help that Pittsburgh is used to the cold, so they're not going to have to worry about that, but still, Pittsburgh, even though they have been riding high lately, Mason Rudolph's playing very well, going to Buffalo is going to be very tough. Then you got the Green Bay Packers traveling to Dallas. Cowboys, they're on a mission to prove that they're not going to choke in the NFL playoffs, but Green Bay, just like Pittsburgh, is another team that's hot right now, riding high. Can they go on the road and knock off the Dallas Cowboys? That's going to be a very tough game for the Green Bay Packers, but Dallas, if you are Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones, you cannot blow that matchup. Then you've got the return of Matthew Stafford to Detroit in the wild card. That's an unbelievable matchup right there. The Rams had a great finish to the season, so it's kind of wild that you've got 3 teams that are the underdogs here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay Packers, and the Los Angeles Rams all on Sunday. They performed very well down the stretch of the season. In Detroit, they had some lumps toward the end of the year. They did not play all that well in a few games down the stretch of the season, but they did finish their season strong, beating the Minnesota Vikings. And Detroit being at home, having that home field advantage, you would think Buffalo, Dallas, and Detroit have the edge, but you know that those underdogs are going to play hard, and you never know, 1 or 2 of them might be able to knock them off. And then on Monday, you got Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. This is a matchup on paper that you're like, Philadelphia should win. They're the 5 seed, Tampa Bay's the 4 seed, but the Eagles are the better team. But Philadelphia's been playing poor football lately. Tampa Bay's been playing up and down football. Baker Mayfield's been injured. So we'll have to see how healthy he is. His health's going to be key. If he's not 100%, it's going to be hard for Tampa Bay to win despite the fact they're at home. But I think that this matchup's going to come down to more of how Philadelphia plays. If Philadelphia plays the way they've been playing lately, then they are going to be in bad shape. But if they play like the team that they were at the beginning of the season, then they should be able to knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and move to the divisional round. But those are all the games in the NFL wild card. I can't wait to predict these games later this week. It was a fantastic week 18 in the NFL to cap off the regular season. And it's crazy how the NFL playoffs shaked out with the teams that won and the teams that lost that have created the field that we have right here. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I'm sure everybody can't wait to see which teams are able to win in the wild card and move on to the divisional rounds. But let me know what you guys thought about the Bills-Dolphins game and the other week 18 games in the NFL that helped create this wild card field, and what game you're looking forward to the most in the wild card slate in the 2024 NFL playoffs. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.